So this session is on formative instruction. Formative instruction. If we could sum up the first session, or if I could sum up the first session in a simple statement, it would be the session on parental authority. It would be that parents should be in charge, as simple as that. Parents should be in charge. If I could sum up the second session in a sentence on corrective discipline, it would be that parenting requires time and energy. That's how I'd sum it up. Or to put it in a word, basically, parenting requires effort. And that's why we talked a lot about lazy parenting. And then in this third session, if I could sum it up, I would say parenting should be intentional. That's the whole point of this session. Formative instruction. Ephesians 6 verse 4, I think, sums up this whole day well. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. The previous session was about corrective discipline. This session is about formative instruction. So Ephesians 6 verse 4 combines those two ideas nicely. When in the previous session looking at corrective discipline, now looking at formative instruction. You will need both to effectively raise your children. Now, even though I've said that corrective discipline requires effort, the reality is that formative instruction, which we are looking at in this session, requires double the effort, even more effort. With corrective discipline, we react to bad behavior. It's reactive. So your child is doing something wrong which you've told them not to do, or your child is refusing to do something you've told them to do, and you crank out the whip and you whip them. That's corrective discipline, or you punish them, or whatever it is. Formative instruction is proactive. So now, instead of waiting for what your child will do to react to it, you are actually the one that is creating a framework for behavior for your child. And so by doing formative instruction, you can actually avoid the need to do a lot of corrective discipline. To give you an illustration of this, my wife and I and our two children were staying at flats where there were 4 houses. 2 of the other 3 houses had children that were around my daughter's age. And so my daughter basically always had company. In fact, the kids from the 3 houses, they just moved from house to house. If today they're playing at the first house, tomorrow they're at the second house, and so on. And so every time my daughter came back from school, there were friends to play with. Then we shifted and moved to a standalone house. And that company was gone. And my daughter became destructive. She wrote on chairs. She was getting my insulation tape and taping the door and writing on the door. And she just became chaotic. And I remember telling the mom to say, you know, you can be busy spanking a child when the issue is not that the child wants to misbehave. It's that the issue has so much energy and there's nowhere to take that energy. And even she would complain. She would say, I'm bored. You know, I want to go see my friends. And so because there are no options anymore to channel the energy, the child obviously chooses destructive means of channeling the energy. And I remember saying, we need to find things for her to do so that she can channel that energy. And that's what formative instruction is really about. Creating a framework for your child so that they can channel that energy, channel those thoughts and thinking and talking to something that is productive and helpful. If you leave a child without that framework, you will spend a lot of time disciplining the child. because you've not directed that energy. And so that's what we're talking about here. How do we create an environment and a system for our children so that they can channel their energy into something that is productive? So I think it's 4 things we'll look at. Number 1 is poor and dangerous sources of formative instruction. Poor and dangerous sources of formative instruction. And I have 2. The first is maids and gardeners. While we are tired from work and in need of rest, we can find ourselves leaving the children to spend way too much time with the maid and the gardener, so that those are the ones who spend the most time with them, and in the end, they're the ones who are actually raising them. I confess for my wife and I that we lack energy. This is the disadvantage of having kids in your 30s and 40s. You're always tired, and worse 50s. You're always tired and exhausted. And I always wish I had my children, kids when I was in my 20s, where, you have energy and you can be tossing them up and what. I don't think I've ever tossed up any of my children in the air. But so it's easy for us to, you get home, you're tired, and the last thing you want is these noisy guys who are crying. So you just shut the door and say, look, sort yourselves out. We don't know what you're doing out there, but we need to rest and we need to recuperate. Now, after a while of just being the 2 of us in the bedroom, I always tell my wife to say, we're parents. We need to go and parent. We can't just lock these guys out and live our lives, The problem is that now the maids are the ones who will be raising them, and the gardeners. And that's what you want to avoid. Now, obviously, to a degree, it's difficult because you are working, so you leave the child with the nanny. And what that means is that you need to be deliberate to make sure that when you are home, you sacrifice that rest time to spend as much time as possible with your children, rather than just leaving them to the gardener and to the maid. And those are the signs that your child is spending too much time with the maid and gardener is like when you always speak English to your child, but your child answers in Bemba or Nyanja. Then you know that probably you are spending too little time with them. Or like my youngest daughter, her favorite thing is to go to the iron and start ironing on the ground. I even brought a video, but I don't know if we'll be able to show it. Or what was that? And sweeping and mopping. So I said, she's spending too much time with the maid. Can we spend more time with this child? The other one is TV, cell phones, iPads. Even worse than maids and gardeners is the internet, YouTube, and games on the phone. By all means possible, avoid distracting your children or trying to settle them down with these things. So you need to do something. Oh, yeah. So I take these videos, then send to the mother to say, look, we need to do something. This is too much. All right, the second poor, and this one is even dangerous, source of formative instruction is TV, cell phone, iPads, gadgets. They're even worse than maids and gardeners. By all means possible, avoid distract, and I know it's easy to do this. You've got to attend to something, answer a phone call, do some cleaning, do some work. It's so much easier to just put a phone in front of them and YouTube, and off you go. Or turn on the TV, and off you go. By all means possible, avoid these. Limit the time that they spend on these things, and be there Don't leave them to the TV. Don't leave them to the phone. Don't leave them. If it's a gadget that has internet access and is bringing things, you must always be there. If you're not going to be there, shut it off and find other ways to distract the child other than these things. It's such a waste of not just adulthood but childhood as well. Rather, find alternatives. Give them toys, books, art and crafts, a bow, gardening tools, ropes for jumping, puzzles, building blocks, board games, Play-Doh, music, dancing, etc. Just find other things and work it out in your head and plan so that you know that if I need to do something, this is what I'll give them to occupy them. Not cell phones, not TV. They should only watch TV and be on cell phones in your company, not without, so that you can see what they are watching. Never leave them alone with media. More than wasting their young minds, these sources of media introduce children to things that will not be aware of. In fact, when it comes to media, limit the time. Just do 30 minutes at most, or an hour or something, and just shut it off. And let them rather go play with dirt or something than just glued to a screen. It's not good for children. As a general rule, children are always learning and always being formed. Nothing is neutral, so we need to be careful what they are taking in. Second point is formative instruction in alone time. If you forget everything I say today, make sure you get this one, because this one is close to my heart. Formative instruction in alone time. When I say encourage, when I encourage you to spend time with your children and to entertain them with things other than media, I'm not implying that you need to always be there to entertain your children. No. In fact, do not give in to that pressure. Your children will put you under pressure to always be with them. Because you are the biggest thing in their world. You're the biggest thing in their lives, you know. And so they always want you nearby, and that's why when you leave a room, they're crying, and they want, you know. So they develop a natural dependence on you, which is expected. But learn from early on, teach the child to be alone. Alone. Do not give in to the temptation that you should always be in sight. You should always be with the child. No. It is never too early to begin to teach them that though you are their entire world, they are not your entire world. That's what you should teach them. I know I'm your entire world, but newsflash, you are not my entire world. There's more to life for me than you. They will not die by having to spend an hour alone or 2 hours alone, so that you can rest, so that you can do something else, and then you'll be back to attend to them. This is especially so for mothers. It is important for your sanity. It drives women insane to just be with a baby non-stop, non-stop. No, you need a break, you know, to go and do something and just re-energize and rejuvenate. I especially want to challenge us all on the matter of children who insist on being in the same bed or bedroom as their parents. This one for me is no. No, 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 no. Do not sell your marriage cheaply to your children. Get those kids out of the bedroom. Get your child out of your bed. 2 is company, 3 is a crowd. In Western countries, children never get into the marital bed. They go straight from the hospital where they're delivered to their own bed. In fact, they even go to their own bedroom. They don't come into the parents' bed or the parents' bedroom. Amen, brothers and sisters. Now the child is going to scream. For those of you who need to go and implement this tonight, when you go and remove that child from your bed and from your bed, that child will scream like it's the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. That child is going to scream like they are dying. Don't give in. Don't what? Give in. If your wife is soft at heart like mine, hold her tight and restrain her. While that kid is screaming on top of its lungs. They will cry as if they are dying. They will cry as if the world has come to an end. But as long as they are fed, they are changed, the room is warm enough, the bed is comfortable, there is no reason under God's green earth why they should be crying. Other than wanting attention. But we have to train its formative instruction in what? Alone time. Even a child must learn to be alone. Especially at night. So that daddy and mommy can have daddy and mommy time. If you know what I mean. I don't mean to talk. So, what will happen is the child will cry on top of his or her lungs, but they'll get tired. And that's the beauty of crying. Crying tires. In fact, what you hear after, they may cry for even 2-3 hours. But after a while, they're going to say, it's going to be like, while they are crying. Then we're almost at the finish line. They will be standing, trying to get out, crying. Let them cry. Until finally they just give up and they realize, these chaps are not coming. And it's more profitable to just lie down and sleep. Suffer that for 2 days, 3 days, a week. They are intelligent enough to know that, I think here the game has changed. These people are not coming. When they put me down, once they feed me, they change me. When they put me down, that's it, I'm on my own. And the child will begin to adjust and will learn to sleep on their own. You cannot continue scheduling daddy and mommy time around the baby's timetable. You get a text, from the other room. Get ready, the baby has slept. I'm coming. No. If we miss this chance, we won't have no. We need to do away with that nonsense. The baby can't be holding us at ransom like that. Again, we are trying to show the child that we are in charge, and that starts from diapers. I am not in charge. Life is not about me. When they are in their own bed, you are free to have mommy and daddy time at any time, as it was in the beginning. Even better if you can move them. You can start with a coat, we call them coats, huh? Or is that old school? Yeah, coats. And then you put them in a coat separate. For us, we've moved our baby into the closet. And we close the door. See you tomorrow. Whether you are crying or we just check. Is she dry? Yes. Is she fed? Yes. No problem. She will fall asleep once she's tired of crying. Slightly older kids will play tricks on you about being scared. I'm scared, daddy. I'm scared, mommy. Don't fall for those tricks. It's a lie. I caught my daughter's lies. I used to believe that she was scared. Then I noticed, one time I'm sleeping, and around 3 a.m. the TV comes on and it's loud. So I go and check. And this chap is alone in a dark room watching the TV. And sometimes I'll catch her alone on the phone. She sneaked the phone or sneaked the iPad, and she's alone. So why is it that when there's no TV or iPad or phone, there are no ghosts? But when you are alone, there are ghosts. So I literally confronted her. I said, look, you are lying. Because when you have the phone, you are capable of being alone. But when you don't have the phone, now you are lying. And she failed to respond because I had got her red-handed. So I said, I'm not buying this. I can tuck you in, I can put you to bed, but I'm only giving you, 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and I'm gone to my wife. I'm not going to spend hours here with you or move into your bed. Some of you guys, you are sleeping on the edge of your bed. Aren't you tired? You've even brought a mattress into the bedroom for yourself. Instead of you kicking the child out, the child is kicking you out. No. Even the child will sleep comfortably and better. They like stretching and rolling. They can do all those alone in the cot. But why should you be sleeping with a tiny foot in your mouth and all sorts of things now? So don't fall for those tricks. Tell the child, look, turn on the light. In fact, at the end of the day, what I told my daughter is choose between ghosts and this. Either I go and you remain with ghosts which you've never seen, you've never touched, you've never heard, and you choose to be scared of them, or you give me problems and this you've seen, this you've heard. This is real. This is not a ghost. So choose between the ghosts and this. Because even that I was now spanking. So you are misbehaving now. Come for spanking. Bam. Now go and sleep. If you are scared, turn on the light. If there's a ghost, open the wardrobes for her or for him. Look, there are no ghosts. I used to lift the bed. Come and check. No ghosts. Clear. Sleep well. You can sleep with the light on. One of the reasons we are failing to have more children is the way we are handling children. If you're just going to keep having children and adding them to your bed, you won't go beyond 3. You shut the operation down. And you are waiting on children hand and foot. As soon as the child just opens its eyes, or opens its mouth, or the child just does, and you're already there, and you're lifting. What's the problem? You can't manage. Imagine 5 of those. So this principle of formative alone time is powerful. Are you seeing why it's my favorite point? Because it will give you back your sanity, to give you back your life, to give you back your bed and your bedroom. Amen. So kick those guys out. Let the game change today. Today the game must change. Mothers, toughen up as that child is crying. Number 3, formative instruction in the things of God. In terms of formative instruction, this is the most important thing you can do in instructing your children. They need to learn from you how to worship God and have a relationship with Him. They need to learn from you the importance of church and integration into the life of the church. It's important for their own spiritual health and development. So begin early training children in the things of God. Here are a few things that you can train them in. First, let Sunday be the most important day of the week. Let Sunday be the most important day of the week. The reason why this is important is because Sunday is the Lord's day. If that does not make it the most important day, then I don't know what should make it the most important. It's literally called the Lord's day. Yahweh's day. The day for the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Preparations for Sunday should start on Saturday. Pick out clothes with the kids. If they're a bit older, tell them to go and pick out the clothes themselves. Instruct them to prepare those clothes. Let them choose the clothes. Let them iron the clothes. Have you ironed? Are they ready? Are they folded? Good. Tell them to prepare their Bible, notebook, pen, pencil, whatever it is. Put it in a little bag. Put it by the door so that in the morning there's nothing. Where is the Bible? Where is the notebook? No. All that is set on Saturday. Pray with them as you put them to bed or have devotions with them on Saturday night. Pray with them for the preacher on Sunday, for yourselves as a family to be healthy and ready for worship the following day, and of course for the Lord to speak to all of you. Discuss the expectations you have of them for Sunday. Tomorrow we are going to church. No noise. No toilet. I want toilet. And don't fall for those tricks. Why is it that the child can watch TV for 3 hours and not go to the toilet? But as soon as they sit in church, they need to go to the toilet 5 times in 1 hour. Those are tricks. Stop falling for the tricks. I don't fall for those tricks. Me, I say, wee in your pants. Let's see how serious you are about needing the toilet. No. Church is an hour, 30 minutes. Why is it that I want what? I want what? No. Just sit. We'll be done soon. So talk to them. Last Sunday, you made a lot of noise. Last Sunday, you were moving up and down. Last Sunday, you failed to write notes. Last Sunday, you forgot what you learned at church. Pay attention. Talk to them about the expectations as you are driving to church on Sunday morning. We are going to church. Today is whose day? The Lord's day. It's not our day. On Sunday itself, get them up nice and early. On the way to church, I've talked about this. Talk about your expectations. Review any bad behavior. Encourage any good behavior. Wow, you took notes. Wow, you sat quietly. Do it again, okay? Reward the good behavior. Tell them why you are going to church. Tell them what going to church is all about. You are instructing them. It's proactive. You are not waiting for problems. You are going ahead of the problems. During church, sit with them. Hillview Baptist parents, start sitting with your children. But you don't know where your child is on Sunday. Who are you expecting to keep that child attentive and well-behaved? And allowing these small chaps to sit together? No. Sit with your child. You cannot train them if you are not with them. Help them go about the motions. Time to stand up and sing. Not you stand up to sing, you leave your child, sitting and looking at the... No, hey, haven't you heard what the song leader said? We need to stand and sing. Stand on the chair if you want so that you see the board there, even though you can't read what is there. But you are teaching them to go through, you are not leaving them behind in the motions of what it means to worship. So don't leave them sitting when it's time to stand and sing. If there's a hymn book, hold it with them. For children that are learning to read, it's even better because you can pass your fingers where you're singing, right? On the hymns and on the notes. Engage them and make them participate and engage them in the worship. It's formative. You see why we're saying formative is important. Rather than you just, all you do is spank. No, bring them into the process so that there's no time to misbehave because you are taking them through the motions of worship. Even if they can't read and they're holding the hymn book upside down, it's okay. Let them just be holding it there. Same thing with Bible reading. Get them a Bible. Open to the passage. Show them it's Philippians chapter 1 verse what? If they're learning to read, move your fingers. The Bible is being read. Carry money every Sunday for them to put in the offering bag. And only hundreds, eh? You can't give God 1 kwacha, 2. What are you teaching the child? Now we even have 200, 500. So give the child 50 kwacha, 100 kwacha to put in the offering bag. Practice corrective discipline religiously until they learn to sit quietly in church. We said this in the previous session. Go out and spank as many times as it takes for the child to know, Dad, Mom is not letting up. I just have to sit quietly here, otherwise they'll just keep taking me for spanking. Let me just do what they are saying. For younger children who are still learning to write, you can write out the theme and passage in a way that they can trace out. And at Hillview, it's all those things are not, we spoil you people. All those things are all done for you. They are printed. You just pick the printouts and they're age appropriate. Make sure you take the child through that and you ensure they are writing and filling those sermon worksheets. For older children, let them write notes. I actually hope that we can get so organized at Hillview even to publish the hymns like on Monday for Sunday. So during the week you can sing the hymns, teach the children the hymns. If it's the children's song, you're already teaching them. So at come Sunday, they are good to go. As you return home, ask them what they learned at church. Reward them for remembering. Take time to review the sermon with them, discuss it with them, and apply it to their lives. So let it be clear to them that Sunday is a big thing in our home. Life comes to a standstill, just to focus. Our lives are built around Sunday. It's the Lord's Day. Second thing you can do in formative instruction in the things of God is prioritize family worship or family devotions. Many of us complicate family devotions too much. Family devotions must be simple, especially for younger children, so that they can easily follow and so that you can easily run them through family devotions. A simple formula for family devotions: 3 things. Sing together, read the Bible together, pray together. As simple as that. You can do that in 10 minutes. Yeah. Who said family devotions must be 2 hours because you feel you're spiritual? You can literally do that in 10 minutes. You can literally do that as you're putting them to bed, Let's sing a song, Jesus, love is when. Read the verse, pray together. Guys, good night. Get prayer requests from them the moment they can begin to speak and talk and communicate. Take their prayer requests seriously. Pray for Teddy Bear. He fell off the bed. Pray for Teddy Bear. And pray for them in their hearing. Here's an important thing. Make devotions interesting. There's no reason why devotions must be boring. Have memory verses with rewards. Take them through the catechism and give rewards. Buy a good children's book that tells the stories of the Bible in an interesting way. And just go one story at a time at each devotion. Buy a good CD of Christian songs, or find children's songs on Spotify or Deezer and play those so that they learn them, and you can actually sing to your phone. You don't even need the radio these days. Just play it off your phone and everybody's singing to those children's songs. If you go on YouTube, there are millions of them that you can teach your children. Just search children's songs and start teaching them those songs and singing with them along to the music. You can even download short Christian cartoons that are just 20 minutes or 30 minutes and watch them together for devotions. Superbook. Superbook? Yeah, just play it off of YouTube. Superbook. You watch it together. You don't even need to review it on the same day. You can just watch it for that day. The next time you say, now what was that story about? And you discuss it. The next time you watch another one. How many of you are familiar with Adventures in Odyssey? Yeah, so there's Adventures in Odyssey. See me if you want the entire collection. If I can get it off my hard drive. I managed to steal the entire collection of about 1,000 of them or something. Those are very nice 20-minute stories you can actually play in your devotions with the children. And you listen to it with them, you end it there. The following time when you have devotions, you say, so what was that story about? What was the lesson? And you reinforce. An effective way I've found to do family devotions consistently is to join them to supper time. So when you sit around the table to eat as a family, no one should get up when they're done eating. After everybody is done, have family devotions right there. Right there. Sing together, read the Bible together, pray together, and then people get up. In that way, we have managed at home, like every time we've sat down on the table, I think 95% of the time we've had devotions. Because we've just said, as soon as the meal is finished, straight into devotions. No one is getting up. In fact, me who eats fast, I even go get my guitar, and I'm ready while people are winding up their meals, and we get straight into the devotions. And after the devotions are done, you can take your plates to the kitchen, especially if you are struggling to do them consistently. Because we can't miss food. Eh? We have to eat. So that's why it's so effective. Because you have to eat. So if you join it to supper, you will never miss your devotions. Because after you eat the physical food, straight into the spiritual food. And then finally, involve your children in other church activities. If you're ushering a church, don't leave them at home. Bring them at 6 to arrange the chairs. If you're going to a ministry meeting, take them with you to attend the meeting. Congratulations, those of you who brought your children to a parenting seminar. Wow. 10 out of 10. Well done. Keep it up. Let children see that God is the most important thing in life and in your life. That's the greatest gift you can give your children. Fourthly and finally, formative instruction in work and chores. Very effective way to use up the time. We're talking about where do you channel that energy of children? Channel it to work and chores. From as early as possible, begin to give your child responsibilities to carry out. If you have live-in maids, send them to rest early so that the children learn how to do things like clearing the table, doing the dishes, and do it with them. Let them learn to do hard work from your home. So a couple of points here. First, teach your children to spread their bed and brush their teeth early on. And I mean so early that really there's nothing that sensible that they're even doing, when they're spreading their bed. But better to spread the bed in a way that is completely ineffective and doesn't make any sense. But it's sinking in. Oh, when I get up out of bed, as you wake them up for school, why can't you spread the bed with them? Let's spread the bed. And for the very young, it would be exciting, to try and spread the bed. But you're already inculcating the discipline of spreading your bed. On a Saturday morning, when they want to rush into your room or want to turn on the TV for cartoons, tell them, have you spread your bed? Switch it off. Go and spread your bed. Have you brushed your teeth? Have you changed from your pajamas? Have you packed your clothes properly in your room? Make sure they go through these 5 or 6 steps in the morning. Spread your bed, brush your teeth, put your clothes properly, arrange your room. Then you can go and play. Change from your pajamas so that the habit of that cycle, early morning cycle, is ingrained. Let your children work before and after meals. I've referred to this. Have them set the table, take the plates away after eating, teach them to clean up, wipe the table, do the dishes. And that is valuable quality time together. For me, the biggest problem I have with my 6-year-old is to just sit with her. Because I fail to have a story, So the whole time she's just talking, oh, my friend did this, and it's all nonsensical things. And I would love to say something meaningful, or, educator or teacher, but I'm just not there mentally, Think about all the problems at church or something. And then, but I've noticed with what helps me is to do an activity, because I get bored just sitting there listening to her stories. But when there's an act, so for me it's like great to be able to bath her or bath them and then do the dishes with them, because that can keep my mind, active or something. And it just helps me to spend the time with them. But obviously for her, it's the best time in the world to do the dishes with dad or do the dishes with mom. So do it with them, so that as soon as they grow older, they're even able to now do it by themselves, and you say, you go do the dishes. Also give them tasks like arranging books on the shelf, gardening, doing puzzles, extracurricular activities, swimming, lessons. Think of things you can do to fill their time and direct their energy. As children get older, this is for those of you with some older children, take them to work somewhere on school holidays. If there's a cantemba by the corner of your house, go and talk to the owner. My child is going to be on school holiday for a month. What work do you have in the shop? You don't even need to pay my child anything. I just want them to develop the discipline of work. So that not every holiday is just video games and from morning to evening playing. Just sitting around doing nothing. Tell them this holiday you work. That cantemba where you go buy freezits, you'll be working there. And you tell the person, and you can pay the child yourself for working there. For those of you who have businesses, it's even easier. Give them a task in the business during the holiday so that they can direct their efforts and energies there. You can pay them something as well for that. If none of these are options for you, come up with a business idea for the holidays. Guys, or is it my daughter, my son, this holiday, you're going to make lemonade. And we're going to go to the mall there. Which mall is this in on Shantumbu Road? Chalala Mall. We're going to set up a table. We'll buy my disposable cups. We'll buy oranges, squeeze the oranges. Me, I'll be sitting in the car reading a book. You'll be sweating out there selling lemonade. And then after about 2-3 hours, you say, take them back. Then before they want to chew the money, you say, no, there are costs. The lemon costs so much. The cups cost so. So we need to recoup the capital first before you enjoy any profit. And in those small ways, you are filling up their time. Are you seeing the instructive, what are we calling, formative instruction? So that you're not just on the reaction side, but you are proactive and you're giving them things to do. All right. In conclusion, you can see that there is a lot we can do to occupy children so that they are not just occupied but productive. And even though it's not a verse in the Bible, it's true. Idle hands at the devil's workshop. A lot of the things the children do in misbehaving is just nowhere to direct that energy. If we think of ways to direct that energy, it can really be formative for their development. All right. We are going to end there and deal with questions and answers. So some of you submitted questions. So let me deal with a few of the submissions, then we can take a few in person so that we do not waste people's time who went through this. So there are a few questions here that I can touch on. One is, and then we'll take some questions, those who are ready to speak out. How best can parents discipline a child who has a disability challenge, but he or she is disrespectful to their parents? It also was asked later on. Disciplining children with special needs, especially those with severe conditions. So the key is for a child to understand why you are disciplining them. If that can be communicated, then you are free to discipline. What you don't want is that you're disciplining a child who doesn't understand why they're being disciplined. With children that have special needs, it may take longer to communicate that, or it might be more difficult to get their attention so that you can effectively communicate why you are disciplining them. But it can be done. It's just more effort. And obviously it's difficult. You need to pray to the Lord for grace, but it is doable. So I know it's tricky. You may want to sit down with your leaders, elders at church, to pick their minds so that they understand what exactly the situation is with your child and advise on how best you can discipline the child. What I do not accept is the idea that some children should not be disciplined because of things like learning disabilities, ADHD, or children, regardless of their issues, need to learn to recognize their parents' authority. And it's more work for others. Some children, it's not even that they have disabilities, they're just stubborn, more stubborn than the average child. And so you have to work harder. But that's the core, right, of parenting. You have to be up to the task to do the work. Another question. Some doctors say that by spanking you are teaching the child that hitting is okay. Now that could be, especially when you spank in a way that we saw on the video. If you're just going to be spanking and slapping, I mean, obviously, you are now teaching karate and stuff like that to your children, if you're going to spank like that. But if you spank in the way that we have discussed, you take your time, you use the tool of discipline, you explain to the child why you're disciplining them, then you should be fine. Younger children who like to do what they see their parents do may also pick up a whip to go and spank. You know, a toddler picks up the whip to go and try and spank someone else, but that's just childishness and playfulness. And in any case, if your child gets the idea that the way you spank them, they should spank others, explain it to them. Teach them. That's why you're there. Say, no, that is the preserve of me as a parent. You don't get to spank anybody. So just teach them. It should not be an excuse not to spank. Does comforting the child after spanking not extinguish the intended essence and effect of discipline? That's a good question. Like I said, I struggle with this myself. After spanking my child, I feel like I have to be stern, and grave, so that the child knows that what I did was very serious. But that's wrong. Once this thing has been put away, the child should know that discipline is over. We need to forgive the child and show the child that you've forgiven, that you're not holding the thing that you spanked them over them, It's still hanging in the air because you're still kind of angry and sour. That's not good. Once the discipline is done, move on. And you should even be able to comfort the child. Remember that the point of spanking is to correct behavior. If you have explained to the child why you are spanking them and you've done it correctly, you've put the rod away, you should treat the child as though they never sinned. Remember that when God disciplines us, he doesn't do it with a disposition of anger. It's with a disposition of love. And he doesn't just continue being angry. In fact, he doesn't even do it from a place of anger. He does it from a place of love. So let's not think that you need to remain sort of stone-faced and cold-faced after you spank the child. No. It's done. You've spanked them. You've done your part. That's it. How can one deal with an unrepentant child who, despite countless disciplinary meetings, I suppose you mean, despite countless spankings, they continue to be disobedient? Keep spanking. And make sure it hurts. And if they continue, increase the volume on the intensity. Maybe that's where the problem is. What did I say in the session? It's a showdown. They are hoping that you throw in the towel. Don't. Show them that I'm ready to spank you to the death. And I'll continue until you... I'm not giving up. You must be the one to give up because I'm the one in charge. Your child needs to understand that. Some children are stubborn, and spanking might just have to be a way of life. Do not give up. I mean, what's the alternative? Are you just going to leave them to continue in disobedience because they don't respond to spanking? There's no choice. You just have to keep spanking. Sometimes it's spiritual warfare. Maybe it's time to have a prayer meeting with the elders. Hey, come and lay hands on this guy because I'm spanking, but nothing is happening. So plead with the Lord to help you. Is there a prescribed, after this we can take a question though, or one or two. Is there a prescribed quantity or number of spanks recommended in one sitting for effective delivery of discipline? It's a good question. With my daughter, it used to just be 2 on the wrist, pa, pa. But then it stopped working. We are now around 5, 10. I even ask her, so how many are you getting? 5. I said, no, 10. Bend. Let's count together. Pa, 1, pa, 2, until 10. It's really up to you. You will need to learn through practicing spanking what is too much and what is too little. So some of these come with experience, knowing your child, doing it over and over, and then you get the hang of it. Sometimes you will overdo it. Sometimes you underdo it. You will learn the more you do it what works, what doesn't work. Just give yourself time. Give yourself room for mistakes. Ask the Lord to help you and guide you in the journey of using the rod. All right, 1 or 2 questions. One there and then one over here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for what you've taught us today. Mm-hmm. Some things are very hard to swallow, but I think they make a lot of sense. My question is on... Sometimes when you think of spanking the child, I think the worry for most of us parents is that the children will fear the whip more than they fear you, especially when you're like, I'm going to spank you, So then you're thinking, if I'm constantly spanking them, they'll start to fear the whip more than they should be able to fear me, myself, as a parent. So are these two the rod? And I know that God put it there for a reason, and it's been mentioned so many times. So is there a connection between the rod and the parent? Like, should we really worry? Is it okay to worry about that aspect that I talked about, because it's really there and it's big?
Where the child fears
the whip,
the rod
more
instead
than,
of fearing you.
Yes.
I don't think, my opinion is it's not true. It's not true. This just sits somewhere. Maybe have a selection maybe of whips. So that the child knows, I think the issue here is the one behind the whip. I don't know. But for me, it's if you sit down and explain to the child, I told you not to do this, you've done it, and as your parent, as your authority, I need to spank you. And I'm going to spank you, and you spank. I think they'll get it that I don't think I've ever heard of a child who grew up fearing the whip more than the parent. The parent who used to spank. It's the parents who used to fear. Yeah, it's the parents who used to fear. So, yeah, I don't know whether I would put much credibility to that fear. Maybe I'm not understanding the question. Yeah. You want to comment on that? Oh, it's a different question. Oh, okay. Let's come.
There's a question here.
Oh, yeah.
Before it comes in front. At what age do you stop spanking?
That's a good question. It's also here.
Oh, you gave me. We also have the It Takes a Village question.
No, I don't think I've got that one.
Okay, so there's a
Yeah,
saying
at
that
what age does discipline stop? So discipline
spanking,
stops
not
when
discipline. Mine
spanking,
is
right?
spanking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So spanking discipline stops when a child is obedient.
No, not discipline.
That was you're practicing. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll come. It's here as well.
So
Let me finish the response.
Mine is age. For
Okay.
example, Mr. Makai, does he spank Twange?
Okay.
Yeah. At what age does spanking
Where's
stop?
Twange? Twange is not even here.
No,
But she's
she
a
isn't.
G12. Huh?
Oh, Mamvule, I know, but Mamvule, you can't spank her.
Twange is grade 12, right? Yeah. So let me give the response I prepared. Discipline stops when a child is obedient. So if you have a child if you are 70 and you have a child in your house who's 40 and is indisciplined, you must discipline. Okay? It continues as long as a child is disobedient. Now, to answer that question, generally you want to stop spanking with the rod when a child gets into the teenage years, okay? At which point you stop using this and it's more of punishment. Banning certain things, no cell phone for 1 month, no TV for 10 months, 1 year, whatever. Then once the child hits the 18, that adulthood onwards, first of all, I don't even know why you are keeping a 40-year-old in your house. But that's your decision. But if you're going to, from 18 onwards, upwards, just throw them out of the house. Let them spend a few nights on the streets. They'll come back. And they'll especially in July, the way you've seen the weather here. Because wherever they'll go, after a while, people will say, we can't keep you here. Send them out. Just assure them that, look, I love you. The only thing I'm unhappy with is your behavior. So I'm sending you out of this house. When you are ready to listen to me, anytime, you are welcome to come back. But I can't accept this behavior. You have to go.
Last one.
Yeah.
They say it takes a village to raise children. How far can the village go in spanking your child or disciplining your child? Maybe say, I have issues with your child's dressing. How far can I go with it? etc. So how far
Repeat that. You have issues with the child's dressing.
Yes, it takes a village to raise a child. So if
you mean a child who's not yours?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. How far can I go in spanking another person's child? Should I even involve myself in spanking? And how far can I go in correcting their dressing or their language if they're older kids?
Yeah, like we said, people are not for spanking these days. So it's not like in those days where everybody spanked their kids. And so you'd be on safe ground to spank another person's kid. You have to be a bit more careful now. I think it's safer to get permission from a child's parents before spanking them, so that they only allow you to spank their child if they're comfortable with it. So I wouldn't advise because of where we are in our culture. I'll just let the parent that, there are these issues you need to be aware of to do with your child. Let's go there. Let's come here, then let's go there. Let's make it quick. We have 25 minutes.
Thank you. So I've noticed there are scenarios where a child just becomes numb to spanking. How do we avoid such happenings, especially as parents? Maybe you could also add if there's a cause to it and how we can avoid it.
Yeah, I'm not a believer in that concept. I gave this example. For as long as a child still has feeling in their body, I don't see how they can become numb. Maybe it's describing a stubborn child who, no matter how much you spank, they seem to just go back to it. And I'm saying keep spanking. The road is what we've been given. What's the alternative? You can't just let the child go. Maybe try a punishment or try something else. Mix it up, but the discipline can't stop. And if it means spanking that child and punishing them until kingdom come, so be it. I don't see what else we've been given. That's what God has given us, yeah, with children. But I mean, it must sting in the moment. So I hope that numbness is something else. But in the moment that you are weeping, let it sting and let it hurt, so that the message goes to. And tell the child, look, I don't enjoy you. What's wrong with you? Every day whipping you. You know, be frank with the child. Like, what's your problem? Why can't you just listen? You know, where's the problem? You know, and pray to God, talk to the child, call the elders, but you don't let up. I think that's the principle. Don't give up on discipline. Yes. Over here.
Yeah, in relation to it takes a village to raise a child, what should be the attitude of a person who has noticed something in another person's child and they approach the parent, but then the parents take it the wrong way? Because there are some parents who are very defensive about their parenting techniques or whatever it is that they do. But then also, what advice do you have for such parents?
Parents who are not willing to listen to what you're telling them about
Yes.
their children.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. I mean, what are you going to do? Put a gun to their head? Come on, can you go and discipline your child? Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there's really not much you can do. They are the ultimate authority. They are the ones who answer to God. If they're not willing to listen to the issues you're raising, that's now between them and God. I think you've done your part. I don't think there's much you can do. You have a follow-up?
You tend to feel discouraged to point out certain
True.
things to parents. So
True.
on the person who has noticed that, what should be the attitude? From the parents' perspective, you leave them. It's up to them. But from the person who is noticing
Those issues.
yes.
You mean towards the child directly?
No. Just the whole aspect of, okay, I've noticed this in this child,
Right.
but then should I go and tell the parents, or should I turn a blind eye to it?
Tell the parents. If they're not willing to listen, you leave it there. Yeah. But certainly tell the parents. It's not loving. You see a child rebellious, misbehaving, and you don't tell the parents. You must tell the parents. Hopefully they'll listen. Right behind you there, and then it's Phil. I literally meant behind you. Yeah. Then we'll go there.
Yeah. Thank you for those answers. Just want to add on to what you had mentioned about the question that was pointing to children that no matter how much you spank, they don't seem to
listen.
So there are certain things that you can do. I think you touched on one of them. You grab things that they love dearly. That is one of them. So you touch where it hurts them more, and that is one of the ways. I remember some years back when we were in school, there were those teachers that would spank a lot. When they see that they're spanking and this guy is actually smiling at them, they will say, give me your fingers and put them like this. And the moment the teacher hammers on that, hey, it will be
With a
something
duster.
else. With a duster, yes. Yeah.
We
So
went
there are
through
those.
that. Yeah.
Yes, there are those techniques that you can do to
Yeah.
instill discipline in the child.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine, when he would really misbehave, the father that night would buy pizza. And he would tell him, you are not participating, go to your room. And it was quite effective. So, take the other kids for ice cream, leave this other one. Yeah.
I think, I don't know about children. What about children who are not your own, but you care for them, and clearly they have no one else to take them on? How do you discipline these children, especially if they come in when they are older? in your home,
What age are we talking
maybe 10,
about? Okay.
and their attitude is that you're not my parent, but they've got no other place to go to, and you can't. I mean, if you give them up, you give them up to the streets. How do you discipline these children?
Yeah, you tell them I am your parent. I'm the one taking care. You may not have come from my loins, but I am your guardian. I'm your parent. I play the role of your parent. Teach them. I am your guardian. And sometimes, especially kids who come from somewhere else, they come with a lot of issues, baggage. They've already been let down by maybe ill-treated by other people who took care of them. So they come, ready for a fight. And sometimes it's just helpful to love them and show them love and show them, I really care, but I can't accept this behavior. And reason, if they're saying, you're not my parents, say, I am. I'm taking care of you. So it's work, It's talking to them, reinforcing certain ideas, loving them, and not letting up on the discipline. If you are playing the role of guardian, spank. You don't have to be their biological parent. If they're under your roof, spank them. Once they cross 13, 14, use punishment, which is effective. Once they cross 18, chuck them out. Yeah.
And what if you see, I know we don't believe in this deliverance and all that, but there are certain kids who you literally can see their parents, and some children, they are orphaned early because of their parents' lifestyles. Everyone in the family even knows that the dad was a certain way. How do you first control yourself not to tell them about, keep referring to the fact that you're just like your father? And how do you deal with it? Because you're seeing, if let's say the child is stealing, lying, and this was a very clear about their parents' character, and how do you deal with that? Do we also then start looking for papas, because we don't have papas, because you're seeing something that was passed on. It's not just something that every child, a typical misbehaving or trait that a little child will have.
Yeah, I think, and this is something I should have mentioned, there's need to ultimately it's the gospel that changes even children from the inside. And so there's really, it's important to put an emphasis on preaching the gospel to them, teaching them the gospel. You are a sinner, that's why you behave this way. It's not because of your parents. That's wrong doctrine. It's because of your first parent, Adam and Eve. And but the Lord Jesus Christ came to die for sinners like you. So it's tricky. You probably need support, prayer. Maybe leaders who can walk you or walk with you through the particulars of certain dependence. But it's interesting, in Reformed Baptist circles, dependents tend to do better than biological children. Because biological children tend to be spoiled. But then you find the dependents are the ones who get saved. And so it's a huge opportunity to change a life by them coming under your care. Just emphasize Christ, the gospel, taking them to church, Sunday school, Bible studies at home, and make sure it's the gospel and the word of God that you're pumping into them. And hopefully the Spirit of God will change them. Yes. Let's start with Freeman there. He's been waiting for a long time.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I once had this conversation respecting child discipline, and I'm actually enthused that you had to take this up. This conversation was done by Vodi, and I think there was Paul Asher, who actually gave what seemingly sounded like a controversial argument. He said that it shouldn't get to the point of spanking or disciplining the child to that extent. And then that sounded weird because the Bible says discipline, spank your child. Mm-hmm. But later on, after listening to him, he clarified that this must proceed after effective training. So ultimately, even as we speak about spanking, we, the parents, must be very deliberate about training the children. as fathers, we should be very deliberate about leading our children. Let them learn the word of God. Let them know on what principles that our discipline is predicated on, so that even as we spank them, we can even cite. That doesn't mean I don't whip my son. He knows the story. Get to the office, he knows what that means. And then we have to sit down, discuss, what did we learn? What does the Bible say on this? And then we discuss, how many am I getting today? We negotiate. And ultimately, we agree what is getting, and it gets spanked. Now, the question I want to ask is, at what point, or how do we create a balance between the spanking, or maybe spanking frequency, and where you just give some sort of a warning? Why do I say this? There are children who are not necessarily disobedient. He does a mistake, you spank. Any mistake, you spank. And this is where now a child knows that everything I'll be spanked. And that now negates the purpose of this punishment, because it means that it will just be something they're receiving all the time. At a certain point, you might just need to point to it to say, my friend, this, it will lead to that. So I want you to just clarify at what point that you need to create that balance. Do you have to spank every time, since we said they have to respond immediately, or how do you do it?
Yeah, good question. The whole point of spanking is that a child is not doing what you want them to do, positively or negatively. So either they are doing something that you want them to stop doing, or they are not doing something you want them to do. Spanking must always follow a warning. Spanking must never be a surprise. Spanking must never be unexpected. So if you have properly instructed the child, this thing you like doing, I know you are playful. Sometimes you are right, a child is not mischievous per se, they are just playful. But you are trying to mold the child into your image, how you want them to be. And do you want a child who's playful all the time? No, you want a child who's serious sometimes, you know. And so you spank them so that they are not always playful. It's not that they are being rebellious per se, but they are still not following the instruction you want. So what I'm saying is, you warn first always. Don't do this. Clear? Clear. If you are so merciful, even warn again. I told you, shouldn't do this. If they do it again, my man, I told you twice, I think, come. Maybe the whip is what to get the word through. Yeah. So it should always be warn, spank. Never just, you did what? No. Did you warn? Did they understand that what I was doing was wrong? If they did, that's when a spank is necessary and required. Yes.
Okay, so I asked this question to my group earlier. And I think in your last session, you sort of touched on it. I asked whether there was a place of rewarding obedience, but then where do we draw the line so that then the kids are not motivated by the reward? Yeah, like, do I tell them, today if you sit quietly in church, I'll do this after church? Or it should be a surprise, like they behaved well, then I just said, oh, you guys did well today, here's something. And then the other question I had was, how do you respond to children when I once had this situation where the kids came to ask why we have bedtime for them. Meanwhile, our friends next door sleep anytime. And then I didn't want to say maybe their mother is wrong or their father is wrong. But I think I said those are the rules of our home. Yeah. Is that the wisest thing to say? Or
Yeah.
What's the best response?
Yeah, let's start with the last one. Perfect. Yeah, that is their home. You know, unfortunately or fortunately, you are in my home. And we do things our way. Yeah, so we're going to live by our rules here. Yeah. And then the one before was rewarding. Yeah, we need to be careful with rewards. You are right. If they are not done sparingly, if every time it's reward, then a reward will no longer really matter or make sense. And you don't want, as you are saying, I feel like you've kind of even answered. You don't want a child to merely be motivated by a reward. So I would certainly advise that you use rewards sparingly. If it's something rewards, if it's like it's for outstanding performance, it's like for above and beyond. It's like, wow, you sat quiet in church and this is a noisy child. Then you're like, you deserve a reward, and something like that. So I think they should be used sparingly, not to a point that you spoil the child, that they are always thinking, so what will be my reward? Then you've overdone it. Yeah.
Mwape has forgotten a question, so I'll ask on her behalf.
Okay.
I didn't mean to ask.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, one of the things that I've come to realize much later is that children, when you speak to them, they listen. That's how come they have even got capacity to manipulate as parents. And the same doctors who have written books, for instance, is one. I think when we had Reform Studios and we were dealing with a subject like this, is a question that I posed to our guest, and I think it should have been Elder Kaunda. There's a book that I've read of this medical doctor and a pediatrician for that matter, and he has thrown in psychology into it, and he talked about what the gentleman asked about when you spank a child, and studies who have been done that if those who have been spanked more tend to have a certain behavior. So this is a medical doctor. The same doctors will tell you that you start speaking to your child as soon as you conceive. Mothers will agree to this, that when you're expecting, you're speaking to a child, the child tends to have this bond between the mother and the child because you're speaking to them. My point being is that when you engage in children, no matter what age, at some point, your message will be very effective. But what I wanted to bring to our attention also is that if you are two of you in a home, a mother and a father, if you don't strike a balance properly on the spanking that we're talking about or the corrective discipline itself, you find that the children will pick one of you as their favorite and then demonize the other one, who is seemingly a disciplinarian, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So for parents, mothers, and fathers here, you need to work as a team in effecting discipline. I came late, and I don't know whether you talked about when you are disciplining the child, and you say you have 3 children like I do, where do you do that spanking? Is it in full view of the other siblings, or you walk with the child to a secluded place, but the other ones know that this one has gone into a war zone? And the reason I bring this up, brethren, is that I've got twins who are my friends. They grew up in a certain home, but one twin felt that the father didn't, or the mother and the father didn't love him more because he felt that he was beaten more than the other twin. And it has affected him big time. So I want your comment, Pastor, on this. So if I'm going to discipline Christian and I'm going to spank him, do I do it in full view of the other siblings? Or I can go to a secluded place, or does that get to have an effect on the child or the other children? Because this is a real experience that I've had with these twin friends of mine. So this younger twin, even in his working life, the way he relates with his parents, he actually tells them that you never loved me because you used to spank me more than my twin, and my other twin was your favorite, and he talks about it. So we again need to be careful with that. But speaking to children, I think, is very effective before you get the rod, because over time, children, they listen. Even if you feel like you are talking to yourself at some point, they will be able to get the message before you get to administer that, the rod or the spanking. So I just wanted to know if you touched on it, like when you are spanking in Tasso, is it in full view of Nkeswila, or you have a special room like the closet we heard about? Thank you.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about psychology and those perspectives. But in terms of where to spank, we addressed it. It's private because you don't want to embarrass the child. That's not the goal. If anything, you're trying to win the child over to the right thing. And so you'd rather do it privately. As for a child who says that they were less loved because they were spanked more. If you spank the right way in the way we've discussed, where you have warned the child, the child does it, and so you tell them, remember I told you not to do it, you did it, now I'm spanking you. If it's in that structured way, then when the child as an adult said, no, you didn't love me, you say, yeah, I spanked you more because you misbehaved more. And you can actually point to it and explain it, because there was a method. It wasn't madness. There was a method to what you were doing. All right, let me end with these. I don't want to waste the time of those who submitted questions by not responding. Some people were spanked or whipped at school, especially boarding school, for bad behavior. Is this an acceptable form of discipline, to be whipped by your teacher? In my opinion, yes. Teachers should be allowed to spank children. How else are they going to keep order? How else will they restrain wrong behavior when you take spanking away from them? Unfortunately, our government has done that. But if you are a good parent and you get a report that your child was spanked, you know what you do when the child comes home? Spank again. And then how do you discipline a child who is 25 years old? Is the only option to kick them out? Yes. You can't spank them. When you are keeping an adult at your home, it is most effective to just kick them out. Assure them of your love and your care. Tell them that they are welcome back anytime, but they will need to return ready to live under your authority. If you have a friend whose child isn't disciplined and is badly behaved, is it okay to stop taking your child around them? Absolutely. The thing that must alarm you most in a child is a failure to recognize authority. Bad company corrupts good morals. The last person your child should associate with is another child who behaves badly. It is disease that is contagious, not the cure. Should children also be spanked for bad character? For example, the child boasts at school about his parents' new car, and the parents find out or overhear their child talking in this manner. This is a good question. A child must only be spanked after warning. Never use a whip for instruction. Instruct separate from the whip. And then, if after instruction they go against the instruction, then the whip comes out. Okay? So spanking must always be a consequence of disobedience. You've told them not to do it. I heard you bragging about the vehicle. Don't boast. Here is the verse in the Bible. Don't boast. The next time he goes to boast, spank. You warned them. Older mentors, parents, look down upon us shouting. Look down upon parents who are not shouting. And they say that parents should not apologize to their children. How do we manage the forceful advice that our parents give? Tell them that you're a Christian and you follow the Bible. If they can show you in the Bible, then you do it. Others say to apologize to your child if you apply discipline harshly is a sign of weakness in a parent, and feel it waters down the discipline. What is your comment? Apologizing to your child when you have done something wrong or misstepped is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of Christ-likeness. Do you think screen time has affected the way parents discipline their children? Is screen time a lazy form of parenting? Yes, we dealt with that, right? And then as a working parent, leaving your children with the nanny most days, how do you tell the nanny to instill discipline without you getting worried that she might overdo it? Do not subcontract discipline. Okay? Let them report bad behavior to you, and then you do the discipline. How do you go about disciplining someone? Just 3 more questions. So how do you go about disciplining someone else's children who very visibly do not get any sort of discipline from their parents? Spanking would be a no. I think you can do a punishment punishment you can do. So if there are cakes, you say you are not having a cake because of the way you misbehaved. How best can you discipline children with special needs? We've covered that. As an adult, are you mandated to discipline children aside from your own? We've handled that. Are children allowed to confront their parents for disciplining in anger? Yes. You can tell your child, if I ever, let's do, what is it, pingim? Or, yeah, pinky promise. You can say, help me to not spank you in anger. So if I'm ever angry and my eyes are red, and I want to spank you, say, Daddy, you are not supposed to spank me in anger. And you say, you are right. No problem with that. That is brilliant. How does a child deal with parents that are unapologetic when they have issued discipline incorrectly? Who's asking this? Is it a child? How does a child deal with parents that are unapologetic when they have issued discipline correctly? Respectfully. Any time that you want to talk to authority and sort of challenge authority, the only way to do it is with a lot of respect. You want to choose the appropriate time. You want to choose the appropriate manner. You don't say, the Bible says. No. You say, may I see you? I just wanted to raise this issue with you very respectfully, and you leave it with them, okay? So that's how you do it with parents. Well, brothers and sisters, friends and brethren, we've come to the end. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks to, first of all, Hillview Baptist Church for, I'm sure you know your 50 kwacha cannot buy notebooks, pens, feed you and all these things. Obviously, somebody somewhere is paying, and it's coming out of the Hillview budget. So thanks to Hillview members and Hillview leadership for putting money behind this thing. Thank you for those of you who've come who are not from Hillview Baptist Church. Could we ask you to stand if you are not from Hillview Baptist Church, just so that we see you and welcome. If you don't normally attend church here, we just, a hand for them. Thank you. Thank you for showing up and joining us. We really appreciate you coming and spending time with us. Thanks to the events team, Kapanda and team, for running around so that I can just concentrate on preparing the material and just, running around and doing everything. Thank you to those who brought the refreshments and everything. I just wanted to see who is the oldest parent here. The parents, do we have parents who are in their 60s here? No one in their 60s. Please stand up, Mrs. Konayuma. Please stand up, we acknowledge you. The oldest parent in the building. That's a compliment, by the way. Please, you may take your seat. Who is the youngest parent? Is there anyone who's a... So what's your age first? How old? Yeah, no, I'm looking for someone who their age is low, but they're a parent. Yeah. You may not qualify. Is there anyone who is 20 or less and is a parent? 20 or less and they're a parent? $21, 21, 22, 22, 23, 24. What's going on? 25. A hand for the youngest parent there at the back. Sarah, how have you escaped that? All right, thank you very much. Let me close our time in prayer. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for a day like this That really demonstrates the hearts of the parents gathered here for their children, that they can take time out of their busy schedule to be here all day thinking through what it means to discipline children. We thank you for your word and how it is adequate and sufficient to guide us in these matters. We know that even a parent who does everything right is not guaranteed that their children will turn out right. And we are sinners. As parents, we know we will not do everything right. We'll make many mistakes. We'll fail our children in so many ways. We'll be lazy. We'll not apply the road as we should. But we pray that by your grace, even through our parenting that is flawed and which is tainted with sin, you would still bring about through it children raised to the honor and glory of your name. May you take these truths and embed them on our hearts. May they inform us in how we parent today and onwards. May you cause that we'll continue having discussions about appropriate parenting. We thank you for those who joined us who are not yet parents, that these truths will be stored away in their hearts. And when you do bless them with children, that they'll be able to apply them to their lives. So thank you for this time. Bless us and dismiss us with your blessings. Bless our children above all. May you bring them to a saving knowledge of you. And may we have a legacy that honors you and brings you glory. For Jesus' sake. Amen. Thank you very much. We are dismissed. Oh, is there an announcement? Sorry.
Yes. Sorry, before we go, this is particularly for our visitors. We have an upcoming marriage retreat, so